are with the University of Karate, and we are delighted to come again together on this digital platform and to discuss the principles, theories, the science, the cultural factors, even some of the interesting stories that come together to develop and educate us in what we call the martial arts. Again, today we're looking at a very, very interesting topic. I'm here with Sensei Biddle, and we are blessed to have him to share his experiences and journey and study for 4 decades in the martial arts and various different martial art disciplines he studied. We want to talk about another topic. We previously talked about the demystifying the concept of the dragon style or dragon emphasis in martial arts. And we are continuing this idea of demystifying certain things that we've heard or studied or have talked about in martial arts. Today we're talking about the eye of the tiger. The eye of the tiger. Now, the eye of the tiger may mean something completely different in the Rocky series. Many of us are familiar with the eye of the tiger in the Rocky series with Sylvester Stallone. But in Uechi-ryu, Kanbun Uechi was very well noted for saying that the Pangai Noon style he brought back was known for glaring eyes and fast hands. This idea of the glaring eyes, the eye of the tiger as it's known, is and was seen, pardon me, in the practice of Uechi-ryu. And true demonstration of that, we see that eye of the tiger. We'd like to get sensibility to jump into this conversation and start talking about, and again, demystifying what this eye of the tiger actually is. I'll use this term, under the hood, and some of the aspects of what is actually being turned on and developed in the martial arts by this practice called the eye of the tiger. Sensei Biddle.
That's good. I like the eye of the tiger. That's one of my. I love that section in the Iraqi movies where they do the eye of the tiger, and I do think that it typifies what we're talking about here. I'm going to open this with a saying, and then I want to come back with. Then I'm going to explain that in this context. So we used to have a saying that we were always taught that if you were going to strike with the fist, withhold the anger. If you're angry, withhold the fist. So it's a modulation, right? So eye of the tiger. In San Chen, we have what we call, San Chen is, Uechi-ryu is tiger, dragon, crane. So we're talking about tiger within this segment of tiger within Uechi-ryu. And we're always taught about the glare and the eye focus. There's an intensity there, an intensity of the gaze, and the eye of the tiger. Let's just call it that. Let's say that intensity glare is eye of the tiger. Well, what does that do? What is that? Well, first off, in order to approach a situation where you've got to commit yourself, and we can use this for broad ways, I'll explain that too. If you're a situation where you're going to commit yourself, and I have to explain that word properly. Commit means without abandon. Without abandon. I mean, let me come back. Reckless abandon. You're just going in. There's a samurai saying, with sword held high, I rush in and there's glory. It's utter, absolute commitment. Now, is that emotional? No. Can it draw emotions? Yes. But we're not going to say eye of the tiger is anger. It's not that. Eye of the tiger is commitment. It is intent. Complete and utter intent. And the glare in the eye of San Chen is that commitment to what's about to take place. So it's difficult. It's hard. Here's a good example. If you look at football, playing football. If you played higher level of football or college or pro, you'll understand this more. I didn't. I played high school. I wasn't big enough to go farther than that, so it's irrelevant. But if you understand, if you watch like the NFL players, when they hit each other, it is absolute reckless abandon, commitment to smash. And you're talking, and this is what makes them a different human being than us. And they go into it with utter, I don't have other words for it, just reckless abandon. They are going to collide. And you hear that noise, and they're not holding back, afraid of getting hurt. They're not holding back because they might get knocked down. They are going in with everything. Now, I had a football coach one time. I was playing, he played college ball and all that, and it was Little League football. And I went up against some kid. He knocked me on my butt, and I got hurt a little bit. He's like, "You hurt? Is that a ringer?" I'm, "Yes, coach." He said, "Well, you know what you got to do to stop that? Hit him harder. If you hit harder, he's going to feel it, not you." So I'm like, all right. So next we lined up, and I went after him with reckless abandon, and I put everything into that, and he went down, and I didn't feel a thing. And he's like, "Ha!" He said, "Now who's got the ringer?" So that's what you have to understand. The martial arts trains us for certain things. And say if you're going to go into some sort of a situation, self-defense, you have to be utterly committed to violence. And that's hard to do. That's not that easy. That's not easy. We're not, we're violent. Humans are violent, but we're not normally that, right? So the eye of the tiger is a commitment, and I'm not saying it's a commitment to violence. Don't misunderstand me here. I'm using that as an expression. The eye of the tiger is going to be a commitment to focused intent, and that takes and ramps up your system. Have you ever watched a power lifter hyping themselves before they're going to do press? Like psyching themselves, and then they grab the weight and they scream and yell. There's the eye of the tiger. It's preparing the system for engagement, and it modulates. You can modulate that with the degree of intent, and we're not talking about emotional intent. I know, like in Bruce Lee movie, he said, we want emotional content, but what I think he was in expressing was we want modulated intent. How will we regulate that intent? And that'll be a topic of conversation as we go farther down in certain levels. But that intent is focusing it in your. It does so many things. You're focusing the intent in what you're committing yourself to do. It's removing your outside distractions. If you get in these moments, like if you played football and you've been in the stadium, you don't see the people in the stands. You don't hear the crowd. It vanishes. I mean, I've been there. You don't know what's around you. You just zone out. You've heard this expression, "in the zone," where everything zones out. Golfer Raymond Floyd had the stare. You want to see the eye of the tiger? Go pull some film clips of Raymond Floyd, and every golfer that played him, when he went in that zone, they knew they were done. They called it the glare or the stare. He'd focus his eyes, and you're like, "Oh crap, he's playing. He's doing this. This is going down." He's in the zone, and he was fluid. He wasn't thinking, and he doesn't even remember it. And that's something else that happens sometimes when you go in the zone. Everything condenses into this small sphere of your environment, and everything else just goes away, and you don't even know what happened because you're fully engaged with your system. And I'm going to end with that. When you get the proper intent and understand how that works, it engages your system. And the old expression, be one, there is your connection.
I know you said you want to stop, but I just wanted to throw a little question inside there, because the concept of turning this on and turning this off is something that I think is a necessary kind of conversation there, because prior to our even going on and talking about, we just quickly mentioned some of the topic of what I want to go into, and I was saying that as opposed to like a weightlifter that's wrapping themselves and maybe even trying to get angry to lift this weight, we are through the Sanshin practice and using this intent and this eye of the tiger, this glare, we're developing the ability to turn on this intent, this complete dedication, if you want to put it that, to this aggression, whether it be a kick, a strike, someone, or some type of submission, whatever it may be. But we're able to turn that on without being quote unquote angry, as you said, but it's able to be turned on and turned off, and not like for hours after we're kind of in this zone. It's there when you need it and there when you're not. Is that kind of how the process goes?
Yeah, exactly. And if we come back to my saying I started with this, with if you're angry, withhold the fist. If you throw the fist, withhold the anger, because we're not talking about emotion here. I use emotion is an easy way to describe it. I'd say like violence and reckless abandon, but that's not it. Remember, I'm gonna say this ad infinitum. Don't look at the show, the presentation. You got to see what the sleight of hand is, what's under the hood. The intent here is engaging your system, and you're modulating the level that you want to put into it, and it's not necessarily emotional, because if you're actually in a perfect state where you're aware and you're in the zone, you're not emotions are sort of wiped off the map. They're set aside, because you need to be calm and focused and aware of your surroundings and all these things. And I know I'm contradicting a little bit when I talked about the football stadium where you're not hearing all these things. But again, that's just a mechanism of trying to explain how this works.
Right.
Your intent is what your modulator is, and you can intend and bring anger into it, or you can intend to stay calm and remain more balanced, per se. So your level of intent is just level of commitment. So let me just give you a simple example. If you're going to punch, are you going to punch? You can punch slow, you can punch medium, or you can punch with everything that you've got. That's based on intent. And you modulate that, and that modulates your system, your internal system.
Yeah, you know, for those that are listening, I think that you all agree with me that sometimes when we ask Sensei Bill questions, he answers them and then he opens another door, like, because he started with the Eye of the Tiger and kind of went through all these various things, and then he opened the concept of the quiet storm too, because it's like all this power and being, but in the center, like a hurricane, the very center is complete silence. There's nothing going on, but you have all this destruction going on around it. The idea of the quiet storm. The conversation he was bringing us about the Eye of the Tiger also bled into this idea of being completely silent and still within, while this intent is raging and this motion is happening, and all this aggression, if you want to call it that, is happening without being angry. A quiet storm. That's another conversation, though. You are with the University of Karate. I'm thinking that this is going to create a lot of conversation in the comments below. Please share your thoughts, share your testimony if you have something similar to this, and also help us by liking and subscribing to this channel. We thank you for joining us at the University of Karate, and we'll see you again next time.